What's up, party people? Today I have a guide for you on how to complete Dekaron's Forgotten Underground Temple. This dungeon is not only great for experience, but also drops all the required items that you need for crafting the Helpyron Weapons and the Heffron Armor. So you'll want to make sure to follow this guide so that you can reap all of its rewards. Make sure to like the video, subscribe, and hit that bell icon so that you don't miss any upcoming content. Let's get this party started. In order to get to this dungeon, you're going to want to take the closed dimensional door portal from Ardeka to the DK server. Once you're on the DK server, you're going to want to hop on your mount and run over to the Forgotten Underground Temple, which is located on the east side of the map. Alternatively, you can just walk there, or you can use holy water if you have that active. Now, a couple things I want to mention about this dungeon is that it is a level 185 plus dungeon, and you need to have at least 3 people to start the dungeon. Now, you also have to pay the entrance fee of 1.5 million dill. Now, one little trick here I do want to mention is that you don't actually have to have 3 characters that are level 185 to enter. If you have any level character on the DK server, you can party it. As long as you have 3, you will be able to enter. So go ahead, get your party assembled, and head into this dungeon. Upon entering the dungeon, you're going to notice the NPC In-Carved Priest. Now, this NPC is the one that will allow you to start the dungeon. I do want to give you a little bit of a warning here, though. You need to wait for every single party member to enter the dungeon before starting it, otherwise not everyone will be able to enter. This is not one of those dungeons that you can re-enter. Anyway, after starting the dungeon, you are going to go into the Chamber of Sacrifice. Inside the Chamber of Sacrifice, you're going to see there's about a bunch of monsters to kill. My suggestion for this room specifically is just to run to the center of the room with everyone so that all the monsters stack up and you'll be able to kill them. Now, after that, a Keykeeper will spawn and a Hidno will spawn. You'll want to kill both of these. The Hidno gives money and mud rocks, and the Keykeeper gives you the key that is required to go to the next room, which in this case is the Chamber of Disciple. Now, these Hidnals and Keykeepers spawn after you complete each room. The Hidnals are not required to kill, but as you can imagine, the Keykeepers are. I always recommend, to talk with your party beforehand and decide, like, if you're going to put it on free-to-play and have one person collect the key so they can do the door every time, or if you put it on random, you just want to make sure that everyone's paying attention so you don't sit there waiting for the person to realize they have the key in their inventory. I also highly recommend turning off your pet to pick up items, because if the key ends up in your pet's inventory, you won't be able to open the door. You'll have to open up your pet and then open up the door. Anyway, inside the next room here, this is one of the slower rooms in the dungeon. It's just a bunch of these kind of plant-looking guys. Once again, just recommend going to the center. Battle support is going to be your best friend in this dungeon, because you can just kind of run into the middle of the room, turn it on, and then wait till it's complete. Anyway, you're going to want to go ahead, you're going to want to complete this room, get your key, and then head to the next section of the dungeon. We are now inside the Chamber of Torture. This room is not too complicated. The only thing that can be really annoying is the mages don't stack up very well. So you'll see that myself and the other 2 people doing this dungeon have a spot here where you can stand. There's a couple different spots you can stand, but this is the one that we decided to go with. But if you stand here, all the mobs, as you can see, will stack up nicely in one area, and it makes this room significantly faster and easier. As I mentioned, if you don't do this, the mages kind of go all over the place, and the room takes a lot longer than it should. So anyway, go to this spot or one of the other spots you find that work. Go ahead and kill the monsters. There's like a kill count you'll see on the top of the screen. And once you finish it, the Hidno will spawn, the Keykeeper will spawn, and you know what to do from there. Grab your key and head to the next room. We are now inside what I like to call the slime room. Now, how this room works is there's a bunch of slimes, and as you kill them, more will spawn. Once again, as with a lot of the other mechanics in this dungeon, it's good to just stack up, because if you stack up, then all the monsters will come to this one place, or in this case, all the slimes will come to one place, and you can kill them with a bunch of AoEs. Once the majority of them spawn, you want to make sure you're spamming those AoEs, though, as they can stack up on you and do quite a bit of damage if you're not watching your health. So go ahead, kill all the slimes, grab your key, and let's continue. It is now time for the first boss of this dungeon, the Shaymin Baron. Now, the mechanics for this boss, just like other bosses, they aren't too bad. A couple things to watch out for, though, specifically are the green circles that he puts on the ground. He stacks up to, I believe, about 3 of them at a time, and when you stand on them, they will debuff you, they will lower your HP, and give you an HP drain, so they can be kind of dangerous if you're not careful. However, as long as you avoid those, he's not too bad. All the monsters in the room will run straight on top of him, so you don't really have to worry about mobbing them up. They'll just come and they'll die in all your AoEs. Pretty simple. He does have some useful drops that I do want to mention. The most notable one is definitely the Baron necklace, which is required for making Helpyron weapons. And that item can be kind of a pain to get because it's bound and you can't buy it from other players. So any Baron items for crafting Heffron stuff you can get from this boss right here. So go ahead and kill him, and you're going to head to the next room. I do want to mention here that there is no key for the next room, for the Forgotten Temple second floor entrance. You all need to run to the next room. You will not be teleported in, and this becomes extremely important because before going into the next room, there will be a 10-second wait time, and if you are not in this little hallway when someone goes into the next room, you will not be teleported into the next fight, and it will separate your party, which is kind of a huge pain. Anyway, once you're ready, head into the next room here, and this is what I would consider one of the more dangerous rooms in terms of accidentally dying, because all the monsters in this room hit pretty high and they stack up. So what I always recommend, as you'll see here, is running to a corner of the room. This is the corner that we chose, and if you stand here, all the melee monsters and magic monsters will stack up. Once again, the magic monsters, if you don't do this, kind of spread out, and they can concentrate you, and it can be very dangerous, but if you stack them up, they become very easy to kill. And yeah, that's it for this room. Go ahead, grab your key, and let's keep this party going. You will now be facing yourself with a room filled with a bunch of knights. This room, there really is nothing special about it. These monsters don't hit that hard. They group up really nicely, so just go into the middle of the room, turn on battle support, and wait for the room to finish, honestly. It's very simple. I do also want to mention here, I should have mentioned it earlier, that various rooms have where the keykeeper also drops a secret entrance key. And if you do that, you can enter these secret entrances that are located to the left instead of to the right. And inside those rooms, you'll be able to get some extra XP, some dill, and some buffs that aren't really useful. For the most part, I don't find this worth doing. However, if you are trying to recuperate some of your lost dill during the dungeon, doing these secret rooms can be worth it. If you are doing this with a small party of 1 to 3, you can actually profit from dill in this dungeon if you use this method. So I just wanted to mention that there. Anyway, go ahead and kill all your knights, pick up your key, and you guessed it, continue to the next room. At this point in the dungeon, you're going to be feeling some deja vu. That is because, yes, indeed, you have been in this room before. However, now there are no mages, and there are more monsters, and they hit harder. So, you're basically going to do this the same way that you did the other room, except that since there are no mages, you don't have to go and hide behind the cauldron here. Actually, I did it initially, and then Shaolin in the dungeon reminded me that there aren't actually any mages in this portion of the dungeon, and actually you can just go stand where they spawn. And if you do that, you'll be able to complete this a lot quicker, so just go stand over here and just DPS them down. It's pretty easy. If you are taking too much damage, you can use that other method, though, of going behind the cauldron, as it will reduce the overall damage you're taking. So go ahead, stand over here, kill all the monsters, grab your key, and we are now going to be heading into what is considered probably the hardest room in the entire dungeon. Okay, friends, it is now time for the spider room. This room is notorious for ending people's runs of this dungeon. However, there is a very simple mechanic that you can follow that'll ensure that you almost always finish this room. Basically, what you need to do is you need to follow one person in your party. Once you're following one person in your party, you just need to continuously run around the room. I like to run in circles until the spiders stop spawning. A certain cap will reach and the spiders will stop spawning. At that point, you want to go up next to a wall or a table or stand on top of them really quickly and have everyone in the party use all your AoEs at once. This will very quickly kill all the spiders, and it will also kill the exploding spiders that would normally spawn while you're fighting them. The issue with those exploding spiders is that they one-shot you. No matter what you have on, they one-shot you. and this becomes a major issue given that you're not allowed to re-enter this dungeon. So this is a safe method of how to handle these spiders. Now, an alternative method to this would be if you have a seg in your party, you probably won't have to worry about this as much, and you can just kind of kill it normally, and or you can kill the spiders normally, and your seg can spawn whoever dies. But if you don't have a seg, this is a very safe way to complete this room. Once again, I'll repeat that. Stack up all the spiders, have everyone stand on top of all the spiders at once. Standing up next to a wall is the easiest way to do that, and then spam all your AoEs, and then repeat. You only have to do this twice, and no one will die. Simple. So even though this can be a very intimidating room, it's not actually that hard, as you guys can see here. So go ahead, conquer this spider room, and we're going to be moving on to the second boss of this dungeon. Okay guys, it is now time to fight the bishop. Well, almost. In order for the bishop to spawn in this room, you need to kill all the monsters that are in there first. The easiest way to do this that I find is to run to the opposite corner of where you spawn and stand on the other end of the door frame. If you do this, all the monsters will stack up in one place, and it makes it, you know, very simple. I think there's like maybe like 2 waves of monsters that spawn as you kill them, so just stand there, stack them up, they'll all run in there, and you can kill them. It's really easy. Once they are dead, the bishop will spawn. Once again, this boss has useful drops when it comes to crafting Heffron Weapons and Armor, and it's basically any of the items that have the word, you know, bishop in them. So like the, you know, like the bishop crystal or anything like that. So go ahead, kill the bishop. There aren't any mechanics you really need to watch out for him. He does have a couple of AoEs that kind of glow gold that can hit kind of hard, so if your monster damage tolerance isn't that high, you'll want to avoid that. But other than that, you can just kind of knock him down and you won't have too much trouble. So go ahead, kill him, and you will get the Great Hall Key, which is going to take us to the final boss. And yeah, let's do it, guys. The last boss in this dungeon is none other than Heffron himself. He's basically a big, scary dude that does a lot of damage. Now, when it comes to surviving this boss fight, it really comes down to 2 things. Monster damage tolerance and your HP pool. I've done it with like 30k HP before, but honestly, if you want to be able to comfortably kill this boss, you're gonna want to have a minimum of about 50k HP. In addition to that, I would recommend 50+% monster damage tolerance. Otherwise, this guy is going to be kind of complicated. Luckily, you can kind of avoid a lot of his attacks if you have someone carrying you, and you can just kind of stand back and let your party kill him. But if you want to be able to survive, that's what you're going to need to do. The only attacks really to watch out for is when he slams to the ground. He'll hit you for like 7 to 8k, which can be kind of nasty, or more depending on your monster damage tolerance. And if the boss goes on for too long, these orange flame things will appear on the sides, and if you stand in those, they will also deal a lot of damage to you. So you want to be avoiding those. This guy drops more stuff that you need for Heffron gear, like the eye, the skin, the horns, stuff like that. And I know there's one drop for the Quinn's earrings too that is here as well. Anyway, guys, that's it. Kill the boss and you finish the dungeon. This dungeon is great for experience, and I highly recommend doing it. If you have any questions or suggestions, guys, as always, you can leave them in the comments. And until next time, take care.